Make sure that it's switched on and then the volume is at a safe. So kindly switch on your headset. You are all welcome to the Ghana Pavilion for our Energy Day program. So today we are going to discuss the Ministry of Energy's contribution towards Ghana's attainment of its commitments under the Paris Agreement. Yesterday we discussed our contributions in terms of forestry towards meeting our targets and our commitments on the Paris Agreement. Today is the turn of energy, and we have our energy agencies here, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Commission, to tell us what they have been doing and the interventions that they have put in place, the policies that have been put in place to make sure that we meet our commitments towards the Paris Agreement. Before we go on the program, I would want to introduce some of our directors and CEOs who are here. We have the director in charge of renewable energy and efficiency and climate change, we also have the director policy planning, monitoring and control, Mr. Anthony Jadra. We have the Director Legal, Madam Sarah Fafakpodo. We also have our Chief Director, Mr. Lawrence Apausi. So to set the tone for today's program, we would have a statement on the policy directions of the Ministry of Energy. This will be delivered by the Honorable Minister of Energy, Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Then we would have a presentation by the Energy Commission on its activities in the area of regulation, e-mobility, and then climate change. Then we would have a presentation from the Ministry of Energy on mini grids, and then it will also focus on cook stoves. After that, we would have a panel discussion, and then we'll have a short time for questions and answers. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I would want us to welcome the Honorable Minister of Energy, Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, who is also the Member of Parliament for Menchia South. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from the government and the people of the Republic of Ghana. The subject of energy is in currency, and it was one of the most topical issues under discussions because of the reasons of industrialization, socio-economic development, climate change, and a lot more. We in Ghana remain resolute in our commitment towards SDG 7, which goal is to achieve universal access to electrification. we have decided by 2025, through the development of sustainable energy development, we can record that we have achieved some gains. In sub-Saharan Africa, if there's a part of the world called that, we're probably second to South Africa in our energy access, electricity access. We currently are at 86.63% of the country. We've also grid connected 120 megawatts of solar panels, representing 2.4% of our renewable energy in the national generation mix. We have a target of 10% by 2030. We have created the first ever renewable energy park in the region of West Africa, which has the capacity of 650 megawatts at Bui. The park has a potential of up to 250 solar PV plants, which will be hybridized with the existing Bui 400 megawatt plant, hydro plant. Currently, 500 megawatt out of the 250 megawatt out of the 50 megawatt out of the 250 megawatt has been completed and successfully interconnected to the grid. Further opportunities exist for another 200 megawatts. We've commissioned the first floating solar PV generation plant at Bui at 1 megawatt, with a third of increasing it to 5 megawatts soon. We also transitioned the VRA to increase its renewable energy asset portfolio. Already some 20 megawatts have been completed. We constructed another 50 megawatts to be hybridized with the Opoku multi-purpose dam. We have retrofitted over 90% of our oil-based simple cycle thermal plants with natural gas to double energy efficiency and reduce CO2 emissions. We have instituted an appliance standard labeling regime, starting with only 3 appliances in 2005 and now hovering over 17 appliances, with the regulations at different stages of completion. Ghana is the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to introduce mandatory appliance standards and a labeling regime. As part of the strategies for the last mile electrification, I already talked about we around 86%. Government has mainstreamed mini-grid electrification into the National Electrification Scheme, with focus on islands and lakeside communities, where it is difficult and expensive to extend the national grid. We've planned about 100 mini-grids for development with support from the Climate Investment Fund and other development partners. The household sector has not been forgotten, even though largely little attention is paid to it. Energy for cooking in household accounts for more than 35% of our total energy supply. Ghana is restructuring the clean cooking sector to attract innovative climate financing for its sustainable development. In conclusion, I would like to highlight the following. Ghana is committed to achieving its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. To this end, we are committed to partner with well-meaning development partners to mobilize resources to achieve targets set out in the Paris Agreement. Investment opportunities in utility scale, distributed generation, mini-grid and off-grid renewable energy-based electrification systems are available, and we welcome investors to explore these opportunities. There are opportunities for clean cooking, including promotion and distribution of LPG and biomass technologies. Finally, Ghana is positioned to partner prospective investors to scale up its renewable energy penetration with respect to remote off-grid communities as part of our last mile electrification. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your statement. Next, we will move to our presentations. We have the Deputy Director for Renewable Energy to give us a presentation on the ministry's programs as far as cook stoves and renewable energy is concerned. Let's welcome Engineer Seth Mahu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, Honorable Minister. Good morning, Chief Director, Directors from the Ministry of Energy, Energy Commission, and all our seated guests here. I would be giving you a brief on the renewable energy sector in Ghana, with special focus on the cooking sector. Please, can I have my slide? So basically, Ghana has a policy to promote the development of renewable energy, and the reason for doing that is to, one, meet our obligations under the INDCs. Number two, to also secure the future of our energy generation mix. And then number three, to create job opportunities in this evolving renewable energy market. We have come up with a number of programs and projects to drive renewable energy development in the country. On the utility scale, we are encouraging the construction of solar parks, wind parks, biomass, waste to energy power generation sources to contribute to the electricity generation mix. Then when we come to the off-grid space, we see renewable energy playing a key role in accelerating access in Ghana. We are using renewable energy to electrify communities that cannot be connected to the national grid because of distance and then cost. Then the third aspect of the interventions that we are doing in the renewable energy electricity space is to encourage embedded generation at residential level and industrial level as a strategy to increase our generation mix and also help address the cost of electricity issues with respect to development in the country. We have a number of projects that it's worth mentioning as way of achievement. Honorable Minister has just mentioned the Bui Renewable Energy Park is the biggest in West Africa. It has the potential of delivering about 650 megawatts of renewable electricity, i.e. solar and hydro. The hydro constitutes about 400 megawatts, whereas the solar constitutes about 250 megawatts. All this put together is delivering 650 megawatts. Then we also have our other agencies like the Water River Authority, who are also fast diversifying their energy portfolio to increase the contribution of renewable energy. VRA has the goal to add about 300 to 500 megawatts of renewable in the medium term. They have already achieved some successes in that area. We are not leaving the private sector out of this whole conversation. We think private sector is the engine of growth, and we need to encourage private capital into the energy space. And as a result, we are encouraging independent power producers to come on board and produce renewable electricity in Ghana. Currently, we have about 2 IPPs who are currently producing electricity from solar of a bench plate capacity of about 40 megawatts. Then when we come to the mini grid space, we have already connected about 5 islands, giving electricity to over 6,000 households in Ghana. And we are aiming at connecting about 100 more islands in Ghana through the Scaling Up Renewable Energy Program and also the USTDA intervention. I would also want to mention the fact that on the net metering component or the embedded generation, as a country, we are encouraging investment in that direction, and we are targeting delivering about 15,000 units of net metered solar installations in the country. We have already completed the pilot phase, lessons have been learned, and we have fine-tuned the program, and we are just ready to roll out the scaling up from next year. I've already mentioned this. As you can see, renewable energy is contributing about 2.4%. The goal is to reach 10%. And these are some of the projections in the medium term to bring on board close to about 600 megawatts of power between now and 2023-24, if we are to meet the growth projection, taking into account the challenges we are having with excess capacity. We have to make sure we bring on board some amount of generation to go to cater for the growth. Please, can we move on? I've already spoken about this, the reason why we have to promote renewable energy. And as you can see, we have just recently updated or amended the renewable energy law as a measure to make the industry attractive to private capital. Key amongst them is the repealing of the feed-in tariff and replacing it with a more competitive, transparent procurement regime. Then we also have introduced a net metering scheme to encourage own or self-generation in households and at industrial levels. We are also encouraging the hybridization of hydro with variable renewable energy technologies such as wind and solar. The reason is that if we are able to get hydro to support the variables, then we can increase the volume or the quantum of power that we can obtain from the variable energy, renewable energy resources. Now let's look at some of the opportunities. This is the outlook of the renewable energy market presently in Ghana. As you can see, this is our reference year, and this is our target between now and 2030. We are aiming at bringing on board about 1 gigawatt of electricity from renewable energy. In terms of the status, this is where we stand. We have been able to develop about 120 megawatts connected into the grid, and we have also done some installations at the distributed generation level as well as the standalone levels. We have distributed about 150,000 lanterns, and we are projecting to achieve this in the coming years. If we look at some reports from the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, is projecting that Ghana can rake in $1.2 billion in terms of investment for the renewable electricity sector alone. And we see this opportunity in the areas of solar and wind power development. Then when we come to, please can you go back to the other slide? When we come to the distributed renewable energy generation mini grids, we have the goals here, as you can see, 15,000 and then 35,000 units of solar home system, focusing on communities that are not on the grid, as well as public facilities. Then we also have support from other donors, including the German government, to promote what we call the Ghana Go Solar. And all these are meant to encourage renewable energy uptake in Ghana. Now let's come to the main issue, the forgotten area. This is one of the areas that we have not been able to pay attention to, not as a country or Ghana, but globally. Our focus has always been on the electricity sector and the neglect of household energy sector. And as a country, we have realized this, and we are paying a lot of attention, putting in the needed resources, modifying the delivery models to be able to attract private capital into this sector. And we have been successful in signing up what we call the 500,000 units of improved cook stove distribution project, which is a private or public-private partnership arrangement between the government of Ghana and an investor in Korea, South Korea. Basically, it's a CDM project, and we are using the AMIS2 methodology for this particular project. So what it does is that it's able to reduce the consumption of firewood, and by so doing, it translates into great savings on CO2 or greenhouse gases, and this can be monetized and sold on the international market. So that is the model. So we give out the stoves free of charge to the beneficiaries, they use it, and then the carbon offset is used to pay for the investment. So as you can see, this is where we were a few years ago when we have to depend on this sort of device for cooking in most low-income homes. Today, we have been able to migrate to this level where we are promoting energy-efficient cooking devices called Japa, etc., with efficiency level of between 30 and 40%. This is quite significant compared to the 15 to 18%. And in terms of the process, we have been able to domesticate everything. None of the components of this project is coming from overseas. Everything is done in Ghana. We produce the stoves locally in Ghana, and then we do the distribution through Ministry of Energy's conduit, a system that the ministry has put in place to do the distribution. The stoves go to the users, they use it, and then we monitor it through the UNFCCC arrangement. And when we are done with that, we do what we call the CER certification. Once that is done, a deal is closed, and we can go to the market and sell these. So as you can see, we were able to sign this agreement for this particular PPP arrangement in 2018 in Korea, and we have already started implementation. In terms of the implementation arrangement, because it's a PPP, Ministry of Energy sits here and has an implementation unit that drives the project, and we have private sector coming in from here. The Koreans are coming in from here, and they are supporting the implementation of the entire project in terms of budgetary allocation. They are funding everything, and we are seeding off the carbon to them. This is just to give you a bit more of information about how the whole thing works. We have zoned the project into what we call the CPA, the Component Program Activities. So every region in Ghana has a CPA with an allocated number of stoves that go to that particular region. And we ensure that we distribute up to that level. That is what you will use to be able to get your certification. So that is how the structure works with respect to that. And as you can see, we have the aggregator here, which is the Climate Change Center of Korea, that is managing all the transactions between the government of Ghana and the financier of this project. In this case, that is Korea East-West Power Company. They are the ones who are providing the finance for this project. In terms of our partners, it's a project that has brought on board so much excitement. We have a lot of partners on this project, as you can see on your screen. We have the media, we have civil society organization, we have the Ministry of Environment, we have our own Ministry, Energy Commission, the standard entities. They are all playing a role to make sure that this project is a success. In terms of the impact, very significant. This project is going to reduce the consumption of firewood and charcoal by almost 40% in Ghana. And this will translate into savings on our forest resources, and it will increase our carbon sink to make it more greener. In conclusion, Honorable Minister, I would want to say that lessons that we are drawing from this particular project has already started attracting interest from all over the world. The World Bank has just expressed interest, the Swiss government has expressed interest, and they are all looking at coming on board for us to go to scale up this to reach our target set in the INDCs. Then we can also say that the World Bank recently has supported a study to look at the clean cooking sector in Ghana and come up with an investment prospectus that will give us a true picture of how much we need to go to drive this industry. And once that study is completed, we hope that we'll be able to implement the recommendations as quickly as possible. Then in terms of renewable electricity contribution, we are committed, as indicated by Honourable Minister, that we'll achieve our 10% target by 2030. All the interventions we've put in place are going to yield that results. In terms of investment, this is a sector that can bring close to $3 billion into our economy. So we need to pay more attention to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Seth, for your explanation on the short, medium, and long-term roadmap that the Ministry of Energy has put in place to ensure increased uptake of renewable energy so that we can meet our targets. Your exposition on the cook stove is also very interesting, and I'm sure during the panel discussion and question and answers time, there will be a lot to discuss. Next, we have a presentation from the Energy Commission. The Energy Commission is the technical advisor to the Ministry of Energy. They are responsible for regulation. They are also responsible for promotion of renewable energy. So their presentation will focus on regulation. It will focus on energy efficiency and also e-mobility. To do this presentation, we have the Director for Renewable Energy. He's also responsible for climate change and energy efficiency, Mr. Kofi Ejakun.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, Honorable Minister, our guests, invited guests, CEOs and directors here present. Ghana has done a lot when it comes to mitigation efforts, and we are proud to join the community of nations that have taken mitigation as a very serious move. And this morning I'm going to present you a few of the efforts that we have made and that has actually yielded results. So by way of outline, I'll give you a brief snapshot for the benefit of those who do not know exactly where Ghana is on the global map, and then we will zoom into the various energy efficiency activities that have impacted on our climate mitigation efforts, and we will look at a bit of renewable energy and our challenges, and then investment and collaboration opportunities. So this is Ghana and the vital statistics that I think you need to know. But worthy of mention here is electricity access rate. My figure here, the 85 is 2020, but just as the minister said, currently we have hit the 86% mark. And by way of our generation mix, we generate close to 40% from renewable energy. So, let's take a quick look at the characteristics of the economy before the energy efficiency drive. The economy was characterized by high energy intensity. And the reason is that Ghana, just like any other African country, we were using obsolete technologies to produce goods that were mainly primary products with very little value addition. So by using energy intensively to produce goods that have less value addition, actually scaled up our energy intensity. And if you look here, you can see the contrast. In 2000, Ghana energy intensity rates compared with 1998, Brazil, France, Japan, England, and the others. It tells you clearly that our energy intensity was actually high, and we needed to do something dramatically to bring down our energy intensity. And the causes of the energy inefficiency in our economy are enumerated there for you to see. There was lack of awareness. In fact, technology that actually promotes energy efficiency was not much known, as well as practices. And the high consumption of energy was actually exacerbated by the fact that we use a lot of obsolete and used appliances. And before the energy efficiency drive, it was estimated in Ghana that 30% of the total energy generated went waste because of the use of used and inefficient appliances. There were no innovative financing mechanisms that will actually help people to get a very good uptick of efficient products from the market. And policy-wise, there were no clear-cut policies that will drive energy efficiency on the market. Poor supply reliability and over-reliance of biomass was also an issue. So things do not just happen by chance, they are caused to happen. So we set off to actually ensure that along the energy value chain, we inject efficiencies at each stage. So we started from generation. And as you can see, there are thresholds for combined cycle plants and simple cycle plants. Heat rate is a function of efficiency. And for that matter, the threshold for combined cycle plants is 7,000 kilojoules per kilowatt hour. That is the heat rate that is accepted, the GE frames in Ghana. For simple cycle plants, heat rate is 11,000 kilojoules per kilowatt hour. Availability 90%, utilization factor 60%, and 85% capacity factor. And then again, in terms of transmission, you can generate whatever quantum, but if transmission is inefficient, you tend to lose a lot of your energy. So the target is that transmission losses should not exceed 3.8%. When it comes to distribution for technical and commercial losses, it is pegged at 21%, 11 and 10 for technical and commercial respectively. And we have done so much when it comes to the end user. That is where a lot of energy is lost. In Ghana, 40% of generation is consumed by households. And that is where we use a lot of energy inefficiently. So the Commission has done very much work in that area. Just as the Minister stated in his remarks, we started with only 3 appliances in 2005 when we launched a regime for appliance standards and labeling. But as we speak, we have 17 standards, and the regulations are in various stages of completion in Parliament. I'll just take you to a few of the activities that we have implemented that has actually generated a lot of results. The first one that we can mention here is the lighting retrofit that we did in 2007-2008. At that time, there was supply of electricity challenges, and immediately we needed to solve the problem. Even if we had gone in for an additional thermal plant, it would have taken us, even on fast track, 24 months to be able to put it there. We did not have the luxury of time to wait for 24 months. So immediately, we did the lighting retrofit, where 6 million bulbs, CFL, were distributed to replace the energy guzzling incandescent bulbs. And the outcome was fantastic. Immediately, 124 megawatts of peak load was shoveled off. And when it comes to carbon savings, we saved carbon in excess of 100,000 tons. At that time, if you recall, crude oil was around $148 per barrel, and the savings to the economy was about $40 million per annum. Gaining the momentum from there, we switched on to refrigerating appliances. And in Ghana, we have managed to transform the refrigerating appliances. We put in place a special purpose vehicle called rebate scheme. And that rebate scheme succeeded in removing 10,000 and over used and inefficient refrigerators from homes, and same amount of fridges replaced for use. And that one too, it is instructive to note here that on the average, before the project, one refrigerator consumed around 1,200 kilowatt hours. But after that project, universally, we drop it by half to 200. But those who actually took part in the exercise got their consumptions dropped to 380. So we saved about 2/3 there. And then actual electricity savings was 400 gigawatt hours. This is a quarter of WI's annual generation. And ask me, how much did we spend? A paltry $3.1 million, and it gave us that savings. I think that you are aware of the menace that the CFCs are causing globally. And through that project, we recovered 1,500 kilograms of CFCs. All these things would have escaped into the atmosphere and caused damage to the environment. So, this is a graphical representation of the load curve in Ghana before and after the lighting retrofit. Now we have a flat load curve instead of the ascending one.
What time in a way, so focus on e-mobility in terms.
And then this is an evidence of a transformed market where the average consumption of refrigerator is dropping by the day. Prices are also seeing a dip, and then volumes remain the same. And this used to be the situation in Ghana. Used fridges, that has given way to new fridges, and that means that the market has been transformed. Ghana has joined the few countries that have reduced energy intensity, where the economy is growing, but energy consumption is dipping. I'm proud to share with you what we have done recent past, and that is the launching of the Drive initiative. In 2019, Ghana launched the Drive Electric initiative, and about a month and a half ago, we launched the first e-mobility conference in Ghana. I'm happy to note that the 4-point legacy that the minister wants to leave, the number 2 is e-mobility. And with that support, I think that we will go very far. The key objectives of the e-mobility are very laudable. Is to reduce our environmental impact, just like what everybody would demand. And then we have excess capacity that we think that this in the short to medium term will be a panacea of absorbing the excess capacity. It was full of fun that day, where people have the opportunity to do a test drive. And I think that you can see the minister at a point, he was an Uber driver, at a point, trotro driver, and everybody else have the opportunity to do that test drive. Now, we have an assembly plant in Ghana that is putting e-vehicles together. And that is an important thing that needs to be told here. When it comes to renewables, I think that one, the ministry will take it up, so I will skip that one. But I want to mention about efficient wood carbonization. We still rely heavily on biomass. So what we are doing presently is to change the technology from the traditional earth mount that is so inefficient to kilns that will improve the efficiency from 12 to about 33%. We have come this far, and it has not been bed of roses. We have challenges. Our major challenge is dumping of inefficient appliances on our soil, and that is impeding Ghana's ability to meet our international emission reduction obligations. It is putting pressure on the economy to increase generation. It is also deepening poverty, because people who are using these inefficient appliances are incurring high running costs, and it is also thwarting our effort to move from minimum energy efficient standards to high energy efficient standard appliances. And the project that is currently ongoing, eco-fridges, attests to the fact that if somebody tells you that Ghana, and for that matter Africa, is a low income country and they don't have the wherewithal to buy super efficient appliances, that is a fallacy, because the eco-fridges, we are selling super efficient appliances and we have crossed the 1,000 mark. So I think that they should leave our jurisdiction and get it clean for us. This is a clear evidence of dumping. Normally what you may hear the Europeans say that, oh, the used products that are sent to Ghana, they are tested and they are in working order, and those are the things that we send there. But these pictures were taken at the Tema Harbor. So if this is a tested and working appliance, I leave the judgment to you. And these are the corporates. The 10 top shippers of Eurocarcass. I mean, carcass from Europe is my own terminology. It's called Eurocarcass. The 10 top ones are UK, ironically, on whose soil we stand for COP26, and then up to Japan. These are the countries that are littering our environment with toxic. We have opportunities for partnership. All is not lost. I think that Ghana, the way it is positioned in West Africa, is very good to serve as a hub, manufacturing hub for electric and electronic appliances. The West African market is very huge, so we want investors to note this and take advantage. And also with the fledgling renewable energy market, we can still serve as a hub for manufacturing of solar panels and all the parts of solar electricity, and serve the big West African market. When it comes to e-mobility, I've told you that we have assembly plants, so there's opportunity for partnership. There's also opportunity to invest in building charging stations. The research and development that will move forward the industry is also required. So opportunities abound for collaboration, investment, and partnership. There's also opportunity for industrial retooling. There are many companies in Ghana whose power factors are not very sound, and there is a need for retooling. What is required now is a very good and innovative financing mechanism that the industry can tap into to retool their system. Then battery recycling and manufacturing is another avenue that investors will be interested in. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your audience, and I'll be prepared to take questions, because this one, for time's sake, I had to rush through the presentation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ejako, we are grateful for your presentation and the efforts that your agency is putting in place to ensure that we have quality installations in the renewable energy projects that are being implemented, and also policing for us to ensure that we get efficient household appliances to use. This has a rippling effect on our consumption of electricity. Thank you very much. Your exposition also on the e-mobility is one key thing that we'll be discussing in the next segment that we'll be going into right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break into a short panel section. We would have our directors from Energy Commission and the Ministry of Energy. We'll have Mr. Jako joining us in that panel discussion. We'll have Engineer Seth Mahu, Deputy Director in charge of Renewables, and we'll have the Chief Director for Ministry of Energy, Mr. Lawrence Apausi. So to set the ball rolling, maybe I'll start from the Chief Director. I think you can sit down. When the others are talking, how do you get it? How do you add it to the mic? How do you add it to the mic? Take my phone.
Someone remove this one, but you can sit here.
Which one? I'll just give this way. So just come. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. So go try. Okay, so we'll start with the Chief Director. Mr. Chief Director, I would want you shortly to explain to us the Ministry of Energy's broad policy and in promoting renewable energy, which would set the tone for the rest of the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator. We from the Minister of Energy, as the name implies, deals with supply of energy to the country. Our primary source of energy has been hydro and thermal. But as at now, our focus is to increase the penetration of renewable into our energy mix. The overall goal is to have enough renewable in our system. In the short term, targeting 2030, we're looking at having renewable at about 10% by the close of the year 2030. And let me distinguish between penetration of renewable as a whole and penetration of renewable concentrating on the conventional, traditional renewables. So when I talk of 1%, 10% renewable, I'm talking of the solar, the wind, and other means, not including large hydro like the Akosombo Dam. And so that is the area we are looking at. And generally, looking at 2030, we're saying that we have room for about 100 megawatts of renewable as stipulated in our renewable master plan. We've heard about the drive electric. The ministry's policy directive is to partner Minister of Transport to ensure that the drive electric initiative becomes a reality. So we are for that as well. The other area that we deal with is the clean cooking. And in the clean cooking system, our basic focus is in two areas. That is efficient use of the traditional wood fuel and charcoal fuel and the use of LPG. So in the area of efficient use of biomass energy, we are looking at improved cook stoves, as our engineer has mentioned over here. In that area, we are partnering the Republic of Korea in producing a target of 2 million cook stoves that will be distributed to households in low-income areas in the country. And the idea is that, yes, indeed, eventually we'll have to eliminate the use of firewood and charcoal, but in the interim, to mitigate the effect of climate change and to ensure that we do not abruptly cut the livelihood of our people, we want to gradually introduce the use of these cook stoves with the, and I'll get to the next point, which is LPG. Our eventual aim is to replace even these improved cook stoves with the LPG cook stoves. And in this area, when we come to improved cook stoves using LPG, we have a company in our country, which is the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. And that is an area where investors could come in and partner the Ghana Cylinder Company to ensure that we have these cook stoves produced. Actually, we are rolling out a policy of the cylinder recirculation, which means that we are looking at producing branded cylinders for the next few years. This is going to be in huge quantities. For a population of about 30 million, you can imagine the number of cylinders we produce. And I'm happy to say that the chief executive of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company is in this conference and will be here up to the 12th of November. And so investors are welcome to talk to her. If she's here, she can show herself at the end of this conversation so that people will talk to her on that. So the last thing is our LPG promotion program. No, last for this, the purpose of this program is the LPG for development program that we are rolling out. The ministry has been doing this for some time. We distribute cylinders free and encourage people to switch from the use of firewood to the use of LPG in various homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Director, for setting the tone for us. You've clearly explained to us the ministry's policy on e-mobility as well as clean cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that this segment is focused on these two areas about e-mobility and clean cooking. Luckily, we are joined by the coordinator for the clean cooking project, in the person of Engineer Seth Mahu, and we also have Mr. Ejakon at the Energy Commission, who is leading the team that is driving e-mobility. So after the Chief Director has set this, the tone, we want to know how they are implementing their project in line with this policy that has been outlined by the Ministry of Energy. I'll start with Engineer Seth Mahu on the clean cooking. Maybe for the sake of those of us who do not know about what exactly you are promoting, just to set the tone, can you describe to us the kind of stove that you are promoting? And we also want you to explain to us how it is adjusted to our local setting and what's the feedback has been. Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would want to start by saying that one of the most difficult aspects of promoting clean cooking is financing. It is very difficult to really get financing for projects of this nature. And for that reason, we need to think outside of the box to be able to come up with very innovative financing schemes to support clean cooking in Ghana. Thankfully, we've been able to have an arrangement with investors in the developed world who are under obligation to cut down their emission by a certain percentage, and they have the opportunity to go outside of their countries to look for projects that can help yield or help them achieve that target. We have been able to enter into an arrangement with the East-West Power Corporation of South Korea. It's one of the biggest utilities in that region. and they are providing financing to enable us roll out improved biomass cook stoves. Here, the fuel is charcoal. And once we are able to do that, we can reduce so much of consumption from charcoal, and that translates into carbon savings that can be quantified to offset the investment that they have made. So in doing so, we were able to select a technology that sits well with our people, the Japa cook stove. It is not a new product. It's been in Ghana for over 18 years, almost 20 years. And we were looking for opportunity to really scale up, bring this technology to the marketplace, and make sure that its penetration reaches very high level. So with this arrangement, we were able to set a target of 500,000 cook stoves, which are being produced in Ghana. The stoves are very easy to produce. You don't need any sophisticated technology to do it. You get your piece of metal, then you have an insulation material in it, what we call a liner. That liner is produced baked to be able to retain much of the heat in the stove. So when you form the casing, you put the liner in it, then you bond it with cement. Once you are done with that, you spray it, you brand it, then you are good to go. And we have been able to encourage local manufacturers in Ghana to produce that stove. As we speak today, within a period of 12 months, we have been able to distribute 210,000 stoves. 210,000 stoves have already been distributed to low-income households. And we are hoping to complete this target by end of the third quarter of next year. Then we'll roll out to a bigger project. So in the nutshell, that is the sort of project we are looking at. In terms of acceptability, we took into consideration the cultural, inclination of Ghanaians. It's very important that when you are introducing an intervention, you look at its acceptability at the consumer's level. So we ensure that the stoves are tailored to meet that aspect of the target group. And because of that, they have embraced it. They are using the stove. In fact, just when we distribute, they begin to use it. We've just conducted a survey through the DOE, and the results is showing that almost about 99% of the stoves we have distributed are being used by households. So that is a very good story about the project. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Engineer Seth, for that explanation in the project, the Cook Stove project, and how it's going down with the local communities. I'll come back to you on your plans to scale up, but I would want to switch to Mr. Ejakon. You are going to tell us about e-mobility, the e-mobility drive in Ghana. A number of people have said that it's not going to be easy, or others have even said that it's impossible for developing countries to implement e-mobility programs in their countries. What is the situation in Ghana, and what plans do you have to accelerate the introduction of e-mobility in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I think that the word impossibility should not be in the dictionary of any country or an individual who is poised to develop. The e-mobility was launched in 2019. Subsequently, that very year in the COP, which was held in Spain, Madrid, that is where Ghana officially registered her name amongst the community of nations that were implementing e-mobility. Between then and now, a lot is happening on the e-mobility space. Currently, we have 5 public charging stations. When it comes to home charging stations, I don't think that we can even count, because presently we have a total number of 550 e-vehicles in Ghana. Out of the 550, 48 is completely electric and the rest is hybrid. So this should be enough, a very good statistics to inform all the doubting Thomases that it is possible. Mind you, in the parlance of the United Nations, they have something they call "don't be left behind," or "no one should be left behind." The whole world is moving towards a certain direction, and Ghana cannot afford to stay at where we are. We have to join the bandwagon. So we are moving with the tide, and so far so good. In fact, we have plans to accelerate the uptake of EVs on the market. We are working in close collaboration with the ministry to get a very important header scaled, and that header is the cost of the product. So the Ministry of Energy has given us their full support and assurance that they are going to work on the corridors of power and then speak to those who matter to get duty and tax waiver on a critical mass of e-vehicles that will be imported into Ghana. And that will be a very good start to get the market boosted. So that main incentive is something that is required. Then additionally, we have to do a lot of public awareness. And it is in that direction that we organize the first e-mobility conference in Accra. And if I tell you some of the feedback that we have obtained, you'll be marveled. It's so encouraging. People want us to turn it into an annual affair where constantly people will be informed so that we do not quench the fire. The steam must be kept hot till we get to our final destination. And during that conference, that was the first time certain Ghanaians got to know of the existence of electric mobility. Apart from internal combustion engine vehicles, they didn't know anything like that. So for us, it was a good step that we took, and we are going to move on that trajectory to ensure that we keep people informed, we keep people abreast of developments on the e-mobility space globally, so that we will all position ourselves and ensure that we are not left behind as the United Nations axiom goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacko, and for the work that you are doing at Energy Commission to promote e-vehicles. So I'll come back to you on your challenges, but I'll move to Engineer Seth and about your cook stove project. This project, as you have said, is going on very well and is received a lot of welcoming from its beneficiaries. Do you have any plans to scale it up so that a lot more Ghanaians will benefit from this? And what will be the prerequisites in ensuring that we get more sponsorship to expand this project?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Yes, we have plans to scale up the Improved Cook Stove project. One of the strategies that we are deploying to scale up is to bring production to the doorstep of the target groups. Currently, we are producing stoves in 4 regions: Greater Accra region, Ashanti region, Central and Western region. When we pick stoves from these regions and we have to transport them all the way to the north, it's so expensive. So the strategy is for us to expand the production base to these other regions that we have to cover with the stoves. And we are looking at producing, on the average, about 150,000 stoves a month through our expansion programs. And that would help us to be able to scale up to our targets in the INDCs, which is 2 million cook stoves. We want to do that within the shortest possible time. And the main challenge here is financing. How do we do it? The model that we are deploying currently, which is free stove for carbon, we are encouraging other companies, developed countries, to partner with us to bring on board the resources so we can produce these stoves, disseminate them, and then we seed off the carbon that will be saving to offset their investment. So that is the strategy that we are using to drive this. And as we speak, the Swiss government have already come on board. We've signed an agreement with them to produce stoves and seed off the carbon to them. We are in discussions with the Koreans to also expand beyond the current 500,000 to about 1 million by next year or by 2023. So that is also another strategy that we are doing. Then another important thing that we are doing as a ministry is to ensure that we put in place enough resources to be able to deliver these stoves on time. And as we speak, the ministry has taken delivery of some vehicles that are going to aid us in the delivery of these stoves to every corner of Ghana. We are expanding the PIU. We started off with only about 7 people. Within a period of 12 months, we have almost about 28 staff, and we are growing. We are hoping to get to about 40 staff in that PIU to really accelerate the distribution of the stoves. Now, another important thing that I would want us to talk about here is that we are not just expanding because we want to reach 2 million. No, we are looking at the sustainability of the market. So we want to use market enablers, market drivers to really drive this market. So when we set the base and we are able to train these people, private sector, to produce these stoves, it gets to a point they would be able to raise enough capital and they'll be able to have direct access to the market, and they can then produce and even sell for profit. At that point, Ministry of Energy would pull out and then the market will run sustainably. So those are some of the strategies that we've put in place to drive that space. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Engineer Seth. We are coming to the end of this discussion. Would have the Chief Director give us the concluding remarks on the just reiterate the investment opportunities in these 2 areas, the e-mobility and the cook stoves. But before he comes, Mr. Jacko would want you to share with us some of the challenges that you anticipate in this e-mobility promotion. And if you could suggest some solutions you think, if put in place, can help you jump over some of these hurdles. And don't forget, I would also want you to mention to us some of your partners, the key partners that you have engaged with to promote this e-mobility drive. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Straight to the point, I can think of 3 barriers by way of challenges in trying to promote and upscale e-mobility. The first one is price. The second one is the possibility of dumping of internal combustion engine vehicles on us. And then finally, ignorance. So, the first one, you see, technologies, when they come up at first, they are always expensive. But as we move on, then the prices begin to be lowered. However, I think that we need to also challenge ourselves to move with time, so that as the prices come down, we will do a little bit of engineering on our own to ensure that the prices come down to the level of the ordinary man. And that is why we think that the duty and tax waiver will come in handy to solve the problem. You see, then let me tie that one in with the second challenge that I'm envisaging. Europe is likely to transition from ICE to electric vehicle faster than we anticipate. And if they do that, there is the probability, in fact, over 90% probability that all the discarded ICEs will find their way to Ghana, and for that matter, Africa. So what we need to start doing from now is that if we're able to remove the duty and some of the taxes, then we bring the prices at par with the imported used vehicles. And that is where we can encourage. We can use the stick and the carrot approach. We can encourage, we can legislate so that people will go in for the new and the most efficient electric vehicles. Then, again, when we held our first e-mobility conference, I could see some, I don't want to use the word ignorance here, but I'm using it very advisedly. People making some comments and certain concerns which were unfounded coming from a certain quarter. And I was surprised. Especially people were talking about the cost of maintenance. That is the cost of running electric vehicle. If you have the capacity, the financial resources to run an ICE, then you must have more resources to run an electric vehicle. The ICE engine is made up of about 2,000 moving parts as compared to 200 moving parts in electric vehicle. And you know, much as I do, that the more the moving parts, the bigger the headache of maintaining or running that machine. So this is one of the big hurdles, ignorance, that we need to try to deal with. So I think that we may have to find very ingenious ways of scaling up our awareness campaign so that we allay the fears of people who think that it will be very difficult for them to run. We will not end there alone. We have to go down to even mechanics. You see, some of the mechanics think that this has come to take bread away from their table. They've forgotten that we are only changing engine. Once the engine is changed, everything else remains as the vehicle. So they still have work to do. So we need to hone in on that and deal with that one as well. Then, having done all these things, we are also planning to put in place the needed standards and regulations to sanitize the charging station market. You understand? This is akin to the oil marketing companies' businesses that they are doing. That is heavily regulated by National Petroleum Authority. In that same manner, we also have to regulate the installation of these things. So I'll tie in with partners, as you asked me. Now that we are working on the regulations and the standards, our major partner is ECG, Electricity Company of Ghana, who is making sure that the cables and siting and everything of a charging station conforms to the international standards, so that even if the standards delay, we will not have headache with those that have already been installed. Another partner is the wider private sector, because if you talk of the e-mobility conference that we organized, the way the private sector showed interest, it was amazing. And it will be difficult for me to even mention the partners in the energy fraternity, because I may forget about some of them. But from the oil marketing companies, through agencies, the buoys and the VRAs, and they are all partners who have come on board And an important partner is DVLA. In fact, we are relying on them for the needed data to be able to formulate some of these policies that we want to do. So that helps me to conclude that in view of the wide nature of stakeholder interest that we have, Ghana is well set, well positioned strategically to take up this e-mobility to the highest height that everyone can imagine. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ejako. We'll go to the Chief Director to give us, just to reiterate the investment opportunities in these two areas. But I want to remind us, ladies and gentlemen, that there's a short opportunity for us to ask questions, just about 2 or 3. And that will be after the Chief Director's remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. I will just mention 2 investment areas which I've already talked about. One is the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. You can partner the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company to produce cylinders and cook stoves meant for LPG use. And in the area of EV vehicles, of course, the Energy Commission has just mentioned there's a plant coming up in Ghana. That is an area where you can partner to produce vehicles or import EV vehicles. If the tax rebate is given, it will ease the way for importation of these vehicles. But let me just make 2 comments. One on the clean cook stoves. That the clean cook stoves, the ministry fully supports the idea, and that is why we've set up a dedicated department focused on just clean cooking. This is a big department with employees up to about 12 or something. Yes, that are running the place, and a number of vehicles that are coming in to do the distribution. On the e-vehicles, I want to reiterate the position of the Energy Commission that for the e-vehicle pessimists, they should forget it. E-vehicles have come to stay. It is going to be the future of the country. And I walked into an estate environment and realized that even real estate developers are now incorporating EV charging ports in their buildings as an incentive for you to acquire a house. This means that as we move further into the development of our affordable housing, this is an area where government may have to also add to the affordable housing to ensure that the e-charging ports are available for all cars, because that's the major criticism in the country about the charging ports. But I'm happy companies like Grey Crest Properties, that's the name of the company. They have already started incorporating e-vehicles charging ports in their country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Director. There's opportunity for us to ask questions. So if anybody has a question from the audience, can you just slip up your hand and I'll call you. Any questions about what has been discussed so far on e-mobility and then cook stoves? Yes. Kindly introduce yourself and the organization that you are coming from.
Hi, I'm Nicole Poindexter with Glasgow Energy, and so one of the challenges that a lot of countries are experiencing is it's a real tax on the utility infrastructure and the ability to have enough generation. What are your sort of aligned plans with expanding generation to support the growth in electric vehicles?
I think Mr. Ejako.
I think that, thank you, Poindexter. Glad to see you here. Currently, generation is not our challenge because we even have it in excess. But moving forward, definitely the excess is going to be levelized sooner than later. Moving forward, we have plans, short, medium, long-term plans that will ensure that we will balance supply and demand so that we don't slip into another quagmire of doom. So I hope you understand that one. Yes. So it is not a problem now, and in future we are on our guard to ensure that. And it will, I know your interest is the fact that if you are generation from thermal to power electric vehicle, then you are not doing much. So in view of that, we have also a lineup of renewable energy plants that will come online to augment the thermal generation. That will actually make our objective of e-vehicle very complete. So just as the minister stated in the morning, we have a target by way of INDC that we are going to hit in the next foreseeable future. And all these things tie into the e-mobility agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaco. Are there any more questions? If there are no more questions, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for making it to our program.
Maybe the Ghana cylinder thing that I mentioned, if she wants, that's the chief executive.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are also joined by the chief executive of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, and she is here, and she's in the person of Madame Frances. Maybe she has a few words to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Chief Director and the panelists. And then my esteemed Minister. I'd like to thank him for making my presence here possible. I heard the Chief Director talking about cook soaps. He mentioned Ghana Cylinder. And all these things are the way forward if we want to ensure a safer climate for sustainability or for survival of the human race, actually, because it's scary what's going on in our stratosphere, atmosphere. I mean, it's crazy. So all I'll say is that we need all the support that we can get to churn out the cook stoves in the millions to supply the entire country, because currently the ministry, under the leadership of Honorable Dr. Opoku Prempeh and our indefatigable Chief Director and his team, have helped us to acquire a 20-acre land and have put in plans for a comprehensive expansion program, which definitely will take off next year. When we say take off, from December. So next year by this time, I believe we should be seeing the commissioning of the biggest hub in Ghana, where cook stoves will be churned out in the millions, not thousands, and all the other things that we do to support renewable energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, and thank you everybody for joining us for this program. We just want to reiterate our commitment as a country that we are really committed towards the commitments that we made in the Paris Agreement to achieve our renewable energy targets. With your support, I think we can make it. Thank you very much once again for coming. There's opportunity for networking. We have all the main actors here, Energy Commission. We have the coordinator for the cook stoves. We also have the chief executive for the Ghana Cylinder. So there's opportunity for you to network. We also have some refreshments at the back. You can help yourself with some snacks, especially local snacks from Ghana. Thank you very much.
You made it, eh? Thank you for me. 1, 2, and 3. They really
I couldn't come, but you know I was
why
here.
You left the wheelchair.
Yeah.
They left it there.
Okay.
So as soon
So
as
we're
we
waiting
came,
for-
we followed this direction. We met Nina at Queen Street. She came ahead of us. And then she requested for a meeting. So we said those are not
Have we debated it? It's a long